This is our first try with a new game to us called Future War Commander. It's in 6mm scale, or 1/300th, also known as Epic. Future War Commander is not based on any set miniatures range. In fact, you can use anything you've got. So I was using some Battletech figures, and my opponent was using some figures from a company called Dark Realm Miniatures. The Future War Commander rules have lists for most popular ranges of figures self-contained in the one rulebook. To name a few of the different army lists in there, you've got Games Workshop for their epic ranges, you've got Ground Zero Games for their micro armour, Brigade Models again for their micro armour, and Dark Realm Miniatures, which have got an extensive range of models. If you can't find a list in there for a particular range of models you've got, it's very easy to adapt either current lists and just choose a tank that's a similar size to the one you've got, or to actually construct your own army lists, because there are rules and points costs for building your own. So in the case here, I've got a couple of Battletech models which obviously aren't featured in the army list, but it's very easy to pick a walker or a tank or infantry that will match it. So this was our first game with the rules. We've not been shown by anybody else, which is always a dodgy thing. If there's no one professional to show you what to do, you tend to get stuck occasionally, which does slow the game down a bit. However, we persevered, and through the magic of constantly referring to the book throughout the game, we managed to sort of wade our way through and think we've got the gist of how to play it. This is an Andreadan army. In fact, you've got 4,000 points worth here, including a couple of the large walkers. The Andreadans are a cyborg army and have a couple of special rules covering the fact that they're obviously robots. And we picked one of the city defense type scenarios, which meant I only had 1,000 points of troops inside a built-up area which I was defending for a certain amount of turns. That's a copy of the rules there, which we referred to often. Because of the city defense aspect of the game, I was able to put up a couple of sentry guns which proved valuable during the game. The stat bar for every unit in the game, whether it be infantry, tank or walker or flyer, is relatively straightforward. They have a move, which is a range. They have an attacks rating and a range for their attacks. They have an assault value for close assault, a number of hits, which is how many damage points they can take, a save factor, which is a toughness save. Obviously they have a cost as well in terms of points cost for your army. There are many other rules that affect the individual models. For example, the walkers might have shields installed, which means the shield damage is depleted before you get through and damage the actual hull. Other units might have special abilities or a particular function on the battlefield, like recce or reconnaissance units are able to target enemies and set them up for artillery strikes, or even give their commanders a better chance of commanding some troops against them. This is turn 2, and the gunslinger and 2 Tokugawa tanks are defending that main route into the city. My main worry was the main walker on the Andreadan side, called a malignant. On each turn, the damage that's totaled against a figure is actually wiped off at the end of the turn if you don't destroy them. So it's very important to mass fire to be able to take out the opponent and suppress them at the same time. The first phase of your turn is the initiative phase, and you can actually react against troops that are near you and do some other automated or special actions with your reconnaissance troops as well. After the initiative phase, you get to complete your command actions, which are for the different formations that you have. A formation might be an infantry unit, or maybe a couple of walkers that you attach together with a HQ unit which will command them. To activate any formation, which might be a group of units, you have to pass a command check with either the commanding officer or with a HQ unit that you might have attached to that formation. You roll 2d6, which has to be under the command value of either the HQ that's attached to the formation or the commanding officer of the entire army, if you're using him to move a formation. This rule represents the fog of war or the confusion in battle. Even with modern science fiction warfare, there could be some sort of confusion that takes place when a commander tries to trigger an action. This is reflected in the rules by a failure causing you to not move at all, or if you roll double 1 on the dice, you get to take 2 actions, which might be a move and then fire, or if you roll a double 6, you end up with a command blunder. The fun part is that you can actually keep commanding the same formation over and over again with the same HQ unit or the same commander. It just gets -1 on the dice roll each time. So with a commander with a factor of 8 in his command value, the first roll he has to get 8 or under, the next command he issues has to be 7, and so on. So if you're lucky with your rolls, one of your formations under the command of a HQ or a commander could take about 4 or 5 turns, shooting, moving, firing, assaulting, before the opponent gets to react. This is actually not as frustrating as it sounds, because it tends to balance out in the end, and you get an even game where some of your units are commanded very well and get to take good turns where they're producing a lot of firepower on the enemy. Other turns you might not get to move them at all. But you can also react and move in initiative or react fire to opponents moving towards you. As the Andreadans approached, we did manage to take out that large malignant walker. The surprise was the sentry guns, which, as a defender, they were firing on the opponent's initiative and every command that they issued to their troops. So they did a lot of damage, actually, and managed to take out quite a lot of the close assault troops as they were passing by, but eventually they fell to overwhelming firepower. But it was followed by waves of the Andreadan robot infantry and also the Mantigen assault walkers, which are the small ones. When up close, they're absolutely deadly in assault because they were rolling 8 dice against my infantry, which were rolling either 3 or 4 dice in the close assault mode. So it's a fun game, and we'll certainly be playing it again, building slightly better lists, I think, on my side, because my Battletech figures need a proper list creating for them. And once we've got them all painted up and ready, we'll do some battle reports on here for YouTube. Thanks for listening.